Candidly, everybody's different. And what I mean is some people are like, Alex, listen, when I die, I don't care what's left. They get what they get. I paid for college or I did X, Y, Z, and hey, whatever they get, and that's fine. Welcome back to 10 Fears of Retirement, the podcast. I am your podcast host and author of the book, Alexander Pushman. Thank you for joining. If you've been on the journey, I hope you're loving it. I hope you're getting some good stuff, getting you thinking, right? That's the whole point. Get you thinking. Awareness is the game we're dealing with. If you have the rules to play by and you are aware of the potential pitfalls, you have the solutions to those fears and concerns, you're always going to be a better place. So today we are in episode 10, chapter 9 of the book. Being a burden on your family. That's what we're talking about. Being a burden on your family. The best practices to avoid being a burden on your family. And candidly, everybody's different, right? With all the different families I've spoken to, done second opinions for, work with on a regular basis, everybody's got a different take. And what I mean is some people are like, Alex, listen, when I die, I don't care what's left, right? I don't care what's left. They get what they get. I paid for college or I did X, Y, Z, and hey, whatever they get, and that's fine. This is what I've also observed. I just went through this. Matter of fact, this morning, I just had a phone call, got a message from a client. Her and her brother are, let's just say, in a conflict of the dad who's in his 90s, has a couple $1 million, and that inheritance is creating an issue. The dad's starting to fall apart a little bit. And what I mean by that, mental health, physically having some issues. And it's creating a conflict because he's now become a burden on his family, his daughter and his son. And now they're having conflicts, not only for money purposes, medical decisions. Hey, where do we have dad go? What doctor, what attorneys? Hey, what long-term care facility should we be looking at? So my point to this is I deal with this stuff, I don't want to say on a daily basis, but absolutely on a weekly basis. I will have a conversation with a client and they're facing this. And usually what happens is when a client goes through this firsthand with their mom or dad, aunt, uncle, sibling, it makes it a lot more real to them to make sure that they have a plan to avoid this for their kids. So the three kind of main areas where I will see, the burden on the family jump in is number one, if somebody gets sick and or death of a spouse. So this scenario I just said, hey, dad's sick, he's issues, mental health's kind of falling apart, but more importantly, physically he's falling apart. And now it's creating a burden on the daughter and the son. Financial, but also time. Right? One of them's working, one of them's retired. The one who's working says, hey, you're retired. You should be doing more. I'm working. The one retired say, listen, I didn't retire, just take care of dad. So there's conflict. And then you throw the money piece into it. And then that's usually the match that lights the flame. So that's the first one. The other, when I said, death of a spouse, this happened with my grandparents. On my mother's side of the family, my grandmother had predeceased my grandpa. He had cancer, had some financial issues that he ran into. I kind of talked about that in the very beginning of this podcast, kind of telling my story on how I got into this. But really what happens in that scenario is my grandpa then has to move in with my parents. And again, he and I had talked about this. I was in college at the time, but me and him would have conversations. And I love spending extra time with grandpa and getting to see him, but he felt like he was a burden at times. Oh, honey, talking to my mom, oh, honey, I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to be an issue. And it ate the guy up a little bit. And again, my parents were happy to have him. We were happy to see him and spend that extra time with grandpa. I absolutely relish it as an adult now on how many more memories I got with him, but it was stressful for him too. So it's not just stressful for your kids or your grandkids or your siblings. It's also going to put some stresses on you emotionally and mentally. So just be aware of it. So that death of a spouse thing, financially also think about somebody passes away. So my grandma and grandpa, let's just use them. My grandma passes overnight, their income is affected. Why? Because you're going to lose that Social Security. If you have a pension, that's single life, It's going to affect your income monthly. So now again, it puts more pressure on you financially. So understand that illness, death of a spouse is a big deal. Divorce is another big one that can create a burden. Why? You got this pot of money, you got this Social Security situation, you go through a divorce, somebody gets half, somebody gets the other half, all of a sudden, boom, there will be conflict, right? Based on when it happens in somebody's walk of life. Is it later in life for the kids? Is it earlier? Divorce can often create conflicts and have burdens on families if it's not done accurately. Okay, so make sure whenever we're doing this retirement stuff, whenever we're doing the plans, I am a broken record. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. I'm not saying plan, hey, we're going to get a divorce. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying have the understanding that these type of things can happen. What if I passed away at 80? And my wife lives to 95. Have a game plan for that. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. And then again, when I say loss of income, the two major spots I see that is the Social Security. Somebody passes away, you're going to lose a portion of Social Security coming to the family as a spousal situation. And then also the pensions. I hate to generalize, but I'm going to do it right now for an example. If somebody has a pension and they're asking me, Alex, what do you think? A, we're going to look at, hey, does it make sense to take a lump sum or not? Is that an option? B, we're going to go through which one's the option. Is it 100% single life? Is it 100% spousal survivorship? Is it 75, 65, 50? There's always these different options. They got the little page that shows everything and breaks it down. I lean into women historically live longer. So unless there's a pre-existing condition and a medical situation, you want to make sure you're having those conversations pertaining to saying, hey, listen, we probably want to make sure if the male has the pension, we have some form of survivorship for the wife. 65, 75, maybe it's 100%. Everybody's different, but I always encourage that in those situations. If the annuity, AKA pension payout, makes more sense than the lump sum. When interest rates are high, full transparency, those lump sums can work out really, really nice. Because oftentimes you can get it, break out a piece of it, put that into a private family pension, and then still have some extra, boom, win. You check the income box and you got a little bit of extra lump sum that you can invest and it stays with the family, right? Because when you pass away, it doesn't go back to the company. So when it comes to these spousals, losses of income, somebody gets sick, these are kind of the most common things I see. So what can you do to help avoid that? And basically have a plan in place where you're proactive, because it's all about being proactive. Know the rules, be proactive, plan for the worst, hope for the best. First things, savings. Make sure you have a savings plan. My favorite savings plan are starting to work with somebody when they're in their 20s or 30s. Worst case scenario, I'll get with somebody in their 50s or 60s, and we're specifically have a game plan for if, hey, I'm working 5 more years, Alex, probably in your prime earning years. How much extra money do you have a month? Well, I got about an extra $2,000 a month. Great. Is it fair and reasonable that we should probably be investing somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month, allowing you to still build up your cushion in the bank, checking savings, money market, whatever it looks like, but also having a specific plan for that extra $1,000 to $1,500? Yeah, that makes sense. You do that for 5 years. Hey, that's a significant amount of money. Then you add compounding interest. These are the type of little things that go a long way in that fourth quarter of your work. Okay, so savings plans aren't just designed for a 20-year-old, 23-year-old, 28-year-old who's getting into a place where now they can save some money. Savings plans are for everybody in every walk of life. Okay, I'm not kidding you. I have a client. She's 79 years old. Between her Social Security and her pension, she gets about $6,000 a month. She only needs like $3,000. We are saving about $2,000 a month for her. Why? God forbid she ends up in a home. And why not? Because the other thing I always say is, listen, you might be one of those folks who says, listen, I've done a lot for my kids. Whatever they get, they get. And I'm cool with that. That's a personal choice. But what I'm not cool with, personally, this is my own biased opinion that I'm going to project, is would you rather it go to Uncle Sam and to taxes, the state of Michigan, the state of wherever you're in, the government, Or would you rather have the money when you pass away, more of it go to your family? I think that's an easy decision, right? We always want more money to stay with our family than goes into taxes. We always want more money to stay with our family than goes to these companies and insurance and annuity companies. So make sure you understand those rules, and a savings is the first thing you can control, because really what I'm about to talk about is what you do and don't have control about. We talked about it in the last podcast. You have control of how much you're saving, and also what else do you have control about? Hey, your health. Are you working out, right? Do you have a regular workout schedule? I'm not saying you need to be going to the gym throwing weights around like Arnold, but I am saying it absolutely affects people long-term and how quickly they decline when they get older if they do or do not have a regular exercise, being active, right? Going out gardening, maybe doing 20, 30 minutes of cardio, getting in the gym a couple days a week, doing yoga, going for a bike ride, hiking, whatever you're into. I would highly, highly encourage to have a routine in retirement and leading up to retirement of that physical activity. There's more data on this than arguably any subject. It will help you stay healthy longer and keep the mind sharp. So you can control how often you save and what you're saving a month. You can control your fitness. You can control your health, eating right. I'm not here to talk to you about healthy eating, getting into all the organic and don't eat the stuff that's sprayed and get cancer and all that. I'm not going to get into that. But talk to somebody who's an expert. Get to somebody who can help you with your health. I know I've gone down that path here. I'm 40 years old today, not literally today, but as of right now. And I've had, the last 3 years for me, I've really spent a lot of time, energy, effort, and intention on learning more about health. Because again, I want to be there for my kids. I want to be there for my grandkids. So if you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, it's never too late. It's never too late. Okay. Make sure you're making an effort on the health stuff. Make sure you're making an effort on, the fitness and having a regular routine. When it comes to retirement accounts, this is kind of falls into the first point of savings. Maxing out your IRA. Make sure you're maxing out to get the percentage of your IRA if you're still working, right? The match portion. Make sure that you're looking at these Roth options I've talked a lot about. Are you maxing out your Roth? Do you make too much money where you can't? Should you be looking into index universal life insurance policies? Should you be doing brokerage accounts? These are why you have conversations with a professional. But max out those retirement accounts. Take advantage of the matches you get. Take advantage of the Roth IRA opportunities. Max out those retirement dollars. And again, that kind of swoops back in with that savings plan. Long-term care. So I'm going to talk about long-term care for a minute. And I know I've talked about this a little bit before on past podcasts, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it right now. Long-term care is again, I literally said this in the last podcast. It is like the ultimate game wrecker to a retirement plan. So making sure you understand long-term care of the kind of those two things I talked about pertaining to, hey, number one, make sure you understand your options. You don't just have to get a traditional long-term care policy. You can look at a second to die policy with a long-term care rider. You can do a fixed indexed annuity with a long-term care rider. You can do hybrids. There's companies I work with where they have hybrids of programs where it's partially annuity, partially a long-term care. And then that way you pass away, God forbid, whether you did or didn't get into a home, there is a either death benefit and or still portion of that investment account that gets handed down to your family. Doesn't just go back to the company. So make sure you understand your long-term care scenario. And again, I briefly talked about this. Demographic matters. If you're in New York or you're in Connecticut, it's going to look different than the cost of what it looks like if you're in a rural area in the Midwest, right? The cost is going to be different. Do a little bit of homework. Talk to a professional in your area. Hey, what's the average monthly cost of being in a nursing home right now in our county? Oh, it's $6,000. Okay, good to know. How much do you currently spend? $4,000. Okay, well, there's a $2,000 gap. What's the average expectancy that you'd be in a nursing home, right? For different folks at different ages, it could be 2 years, it could be 6 years. Understand those details. Make educated decisions. Medicare. Medicare is one of the other ones where you can say, hey, it's a burden. So I'm not going to talk about a ton about Medicare. I'm going to go through a couple things. I have been licensed to do health insurance, Medicare. I still carry those certificates and those licenses. However, what I will be very open and honest about is I am not passionate about Medicare and health insurance. I know enough to be dangerous. I've put people around me who are absolute experts who can help solve my client's problem. Why? Because really early on in my career, I learned if I'm not passionate about a subject, probably shouldn't be trying to make money, shouldn't probably be making serious recommendations. Because in my mind, I was like, well, I need to be an expert. I need to know everything about all these different subjects, right? Social Security, absolutely. Investments, absolutely. Income, absolutely. Taxes, absolutely. Then I got into healthcare, Medicare. I was like, I've never been a big fan. It's changing all the time. It's complicated. And I was never passionate about it. So I started bringing those folks into me around experts, law, attorneys, right? I might be an expert on financial planning with taxes, but I still talk to CPAs before we do things. I might know enough about trust and wills, but I'm still going to talk to an attorney. Same thing. I have a gentleman here locally. All he does is Medicare. He loves it. God bless him, right? But it's important that you understand some of the basics. So I'm just going to kind of go through a couple things here. When you look at Medicare, you got Part A, B, C, and D, and then you start getting into the supplements, right? Q, R, N, M, O, P, F, G, H, L, M, N, O, P, right? I mean, listen, it's confusing. My job isn't to go through that. We'll all go to sleep here in the next 5 minutes. But I do want to kind of talk about some of the basics. And so I'm just going to kind of go right down the line here. I got some notes that I think are important to just talk about. So number one, when we talk about Part A, that is your inpatient and hospital coverage. You end up in a hospital, you're in there for 10 days, you're in there for 2 days, you're in there for 40 days. That's going to be your Part A. So understand that Part A is inpatient hospital, directly connected to that, okay? Part B, that's going to be your outpatient, your medical coverage, kind of the stuff you're more used to in the working force. Hey, I got my HMO, my PPO, there's an out-of-pocket, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Your Part B is outpatient medical coverage. Part A is inpatient hospital. Part B, again, is outpatient medical coverage. Part C, this is going to be what I call an alternative way to receive your Medicare benefits. Part C gets into more of those unique scenarios. I usually will encourage people, if you're not really sure if you need Part A, B, C, or D, talk to an expert. Talk to an expert. I can tell you enough to be dangerous, but you want to know somebody who is up to date on the costs, who's up to date on all the different supplement programs. They do it. That's their livelihood. They're passionate about it. They care. So Part C, again, offers some alternative ways to receive medical benefits. And then Part D, prescription drugs. If you're somebody who has prescription drugs now, pre-existing conditions, you absolutely want to understand Part D, and you probably want to take advantage of it. And then also understanding with Medicare. So again, Part D is prescription drug. When you get into Medicare, what I always tell people, you have to sign up at age 65. There are some unique scenarios of different spaces where you may work pertaining to like companies or organizations that will give you a little bit of a leeway where, hey, you don't have to sign up at 65. But as a general rule, I tell all of my clients, hey, you can register and sign up at age 65 for Medicare. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to turn the benefit on. Why? If you're still working, you got a great medical health insurance program, what happens is you can register, sign up for it, but you already have coverage, so it gives you that exemption. Again, it depends on what you work, how much you're working, so make sure you understand those details. But I always tell people when you're getting into the 65 space, I will encourage families sign up, 90, 60 days before you turn 65. And again, you don't have to turn it on. You may be turning it on if you're retired or have a part-time job and don't have really any good insurance options. But if you're still working, you still need to sign up. Why? Let's say you didn't sign up, you turn 65, you work till you're 70, and now you go and sign up. They're going to penalize you forever. So make sure, because you're basically saying, hey, because I didn't sign up and click a couple buttons and take 15, 20 minutes out of my life, I'm going to be penalized and pay more the rest of my life. So that's an important one. So the last thing I'll say about this, because again, these chapters aren't necessarily fun to talk about pertaining to being a burden on your family. Probably the worst times of life. I'm in a nursing home. I'm sick. I'm ill. I have dementia. God forbid. But it's important you think about these things. And this is what I'm always talking about. Control the controllables. You can control what you do with your day most of the time. If you're able-bodied, able-minded, have a workout regimen, right? Have a saving schedule. One of the toughest things I run into is I'll meet with a family and they'll be like, hey, we only need about $4,000 a month, but we're getting 6. I'll say, well, what are you doing with those $2,000? Well, that's why we have $230,000 sitting in our bank account and we're making 0 interest. I mean, that's a big deal, right? You can go give or take 5% on a money market based on interest rates. But my point is make sure you're doing the smart thing. A lot of my job isn't telling people what to do. A lot of my job, like I've said it before and I'll say it again, helping people understand the rules, helping them understand their options, helping them make an informed choice. But here's probably the most important thing I do. I'm an accountability partner, folks. When people, I can't tell you how often this happens. They're like, yeah, we had put it off for 3 months, Alex, and we saw our appointment with you tomorrow, and we scrambled last night and got it done. Why? It's not like I'm a teacher or the principal. It's just a deadline to get something done. Often, I always tell my clients and the families I work with is, hey, guys, I always have a next step, but I'm not going to tell you what it is until we're there. Why? If every time I had people come and meet with me and I laid out everything we're going to do over the next 4 years, guess what? They're going to be like, man, every time I go sit down with Alex, I got 30 pieces of homework. This is getting real old fast. One thing at a time. You chip away one thing at a time because this stuff can get overwhelming. That's a best practice. And again, being somebody's accountability partner for some of the most important decisions they make in their life, I'm all about it. So that kind of wraps up today. Make sure you're getting your copy of the book. If you haven't got it, you can sign up, get your free digital copy. You can always purchase the physical copy if you'd like, but I'd love for you to be following us along. At this point in the game, we're in chapter 9. We're getting through there. So if you don't have your copy, get it. And of course, as always, you can always touch base with us and sign up to talk to me. Again, I'll give you a free second opinion. I'll answer any questions that you might have that are unique to this subject or any other past subjects we've talked about. And again, there's no obligation or cost to that. I love doing this stuff. I'm doing it all day, every day, and I enjoy it. I'm passionate about it. If you do sign up for a meeting or an appointment, there's going to be basically 3 things that you get sent to you. I'm going to meet with you in the first time we chit chat, just get to know you. The second time, I'm going to go over a plan with you. If you're local, great, we can do it in person. If you're not, I do Zooms all the time. Not a big deal, right? COVID kind of changed that, right? I'm going to go through 3 different things, though, in that second meeting. I'm going to go through an income plan. Are you going to run out of money? I'm going to go through an investment plan. Are you taking too much risk? Are you paying too much in fees? Are you in the right investments based on your unique circumstances? And then third thing, I'm going to look at taxes. Hey, do you want me to look at Social Security? That's part of the income plan. Hey, Alex, do I have the right long-term care program? Are you self-insured? Do you need some additional benefits? We'll look at that. Whatever your questions are, these are the things that I can go through you. And then this is my promise. After that second meeting we have, again, it's a Zoom, a phone call, an in-person, whatever is best, I'm going to send everything to you in an email. So you have it, whether we ever talk again or not. If there's things I can help you with, I'll shoot you straight. And then we make a decision if it works to work together, implement any portions of that plan. But that is my promise to you. I love doing this. I hope you're getting a lot out of this. So thank you for joining us. 10 Fears of Retirement podcast. Again, I'm Alex Pushman. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much and God bless.